This has major spoilers for the Telltale Walking Dead franchise, and spoilers for both The Last of Us games. If you plan on playing these games and prefer not to be spoiled, please come back after you play both games. Also, the opinions in this game are my own, and you don't have to agree, and that's okay. I did not want to spoil the game in the title or thumbnail, but what I'm comparing in this video are the deaths of Lee and Joel. Nearly every reaction I have seen of Lee's death has been very teary eyed. Joel's death, I have only seen reactions of fans being angry. The reason for the completely different reactions is simple. Lee's fit with his character and it made sense. Joel's felt more for shock value. Saying that, I do fully believe Joel was going to have something happen to him after the end of the first game, and what had happened with the Fireflies. However, he is very careful. He has been in this world for like what, 20 plus years? I'm not saying he wouldn't have helped Abby, but I feel like both him and Tommy would have been more cautious and not have gotten caught in that situation. Before you say anything about Lee dying because he was caught off guard, Lee was a year or two into the zombie apocalypse. There is a huge difference between 1 to 2 years and even a decade. Second, Lee was in a panic over Clementine. Joel may have just escaped a horde, but he wasn't in the same type of panic as Lee. Also, Lee was going to die either way since he was bitten and they didn't get to his arm being amputated fast enough. And it didn't matter whether the choice made at the end of the first season of whether you were to leave him or kill him, he was going to die. And it was done by a young child who had to make her first adult decision. A lot of people seem to think that Joel's death was just for shock value, that it was unnecessary. In my opinion, it totally was. I just believe it should have been done differently. There is another way the story writers could have killed off Joel, but I really do think that for a sequel could have worked, Joel would have had to either die or get too injured to go out with Ellie. But if he got injured, they would have to add another element to why he got injured and couldn't go out with Ellie. Killing him off is actually a lot simpler. I just kind of wish they would have done it in a slightly different situation. It still could have been Abby, but just not that quick and it almost felt random. They didn't even ask which Joel. They didn't get any other input. Joel's not so uncommon of a name, and I know they were looking for a Joel in that area, but they didn't even see to make sure it was the correct Joel. And I mean, they heard Tommy's name, so they probably put two to two together. But if they would have came out that far and they didn't recognize him just by his face, they should have waited till they maybe heard Ellie's name or got some more context clues. So one of the many points of Season 2 of the Telltale Walking Dead game and The Last of Us Part 2 is to see how much of our adopted child we helped in the first game has grown. This is even evident in the final season of The Walking Dead when Clementine gets her leg chopped off. I think the fact that the game makes us, the player, play as the villain in The Last of Us Part 2 kinda killed the point in some players' minds. They were already mad about having to watch Joel die for seemingly no reason. I actually didn't mind playing as Abby, but I do think the showdown should have ended in one of the girls killing each other. Even though in that fight you play as Abby, it didn't have to be Abby killing Ellie. Ellie could have killed Abby and then we went back to Ellie. I think if one of them would have died there, it would have made the point more clear. So, my point is, yes, both were necessary. And I know nobody is necessarily arguing this about Lee, but I have seen people bring up Lee and Joel, and I just gotta say, they were both necessary for a sequel to work. I just think if the story writers for The Last of Us Part 2 would have tweaked the death of Joel just a little bit and not make the trip to Seattle seem pointless, then maybe the death of Joel would have been as powerful as Lee. People would have been angry anyways, but maybe a smaller percentage would have been angry, or more people would have played further into the game before writing all these crazy reviews about how awful the story was. This is just my opinion, guys. Doesn't mean it's right. Doesn't mean it's wrong. Tell me what you think if you played both games, and I'll see you next time.